I just wanted to ask for everybody's help in just getting the game times out. But, because of TV and different times, from a coaching standpoint, we'd love to have consistent schedule where every game is at 7:30, but it's just not like that in today's world with television games and stuff like that. So the big thing, around town and even on campus is just getting the game times out. So, again, tomorrow's a 6:30 tip, and then Saturday is a 1 o'clock tip. So I really appreciate y'all putting that in your different medias and stuff like that. It really helps us. So any questions?
Start with Krista in front.
As a GA at Incarnate Word back in '95, I think, what were the biggest things that you learned and took away from that experience?
Well, I've been really fortunate in my coaching career, and it started with my first job. I worked for Danny Casper at Incarnate Word, who's one of the most respected coaches in our profession. Maybe not a national name, but those of us this part of the country know Coach Casper. He built a championship program at Incarnate Word. He had the winningest record in all college basketball for about a decade. He went on to have great success at Stephen F. Austin, who's starting to be a nationally named. A lot of those players that Coach Underwood had were Danny's players, and then he's currently the coach at Texas State. So I'm really proud of my association with Danny Casper and Incarnate Word. It's a place that I have great memories of, and it's a program that I pull for. Coach Burmeister has done a great job taking the program from a transition from Division II to Division I, which is very difficult. I've had similar experiences in my coaching career, taking McMurray from D3 to D2. Transitions are hard. Coach Burmeister's done it about as well as anybody ever. They've won a lot of big games over the years. In the last 2 years, they've beaten St. John's, Nebraska. Would be two examples on those opposing floors. This year, they already played Texas down to a one-possession game with less than 90 seconds left. So they have our full attention and respect. They have good players. It's a good program, and Coach Burmeister is a proven, experienced coach.
Go to Jeff here in the middle left.
What do you expect to see from them defensively tomorrow night?
So far this season, they've changed defenses. They've played several zones. They've shown a box and one look against Texas, and they have the athletic ability to play good man-to-man defense too. So we think it's going to be similar to some of the games we've had at this point. We're going to have to execute against different defenses over the course of a 40-minute game.
And when you guys are on defense, they've got one really good star player. Is it going to be a situation where let him get his but nobody else gets hot, or are you going to try to slow him down significantly and make everybody else beat him?
Yeah, I think they have more than one player. You're talking about Johnson, who's off to a great start, averaging over 20 points a game. But they've got some other really talented players too. I love their point guard. He's from right down the road at New Mexico Junior College. I like their size. I like their shooting ability. I mean, they're a good team. There's a reason they almost beat Texas. There's a reason why they make the postseason almost every year. So certainly we'll focus on their best players, but I have a lot of respect for everybody on their roster.
Back to Krista in the front.
What updates do you have on Ross and Gio?
Yeah, so Ross just kind of continues to be day by day, or maybe even week by week. We expect to get him back soon, but it's a situation where he's rehabbing every day with Chris. And then Norrance is doing really well in his rehab. We hope to have him back on the court in first semester games. Gio, his situation wasn't injury-based. He's back with the team completely. Naeem, I think, is getting close to 100%. So, injuries and adversity are part of college basketball. We're no different than anybody else. We're a program that's never going to make excuses. We're just going to embrace the challenge we have.
Go to Andrew in the back.
Hey, Coach Andrew Doak with ABC in Lubbock. How are you?
What's up?
Want to just look back to that game against Auburn. I know you guys probably got into a hole that you didn't want to be in, but coming back from that, I think it was a 15-point deficit there in the second half. What do you just think you learned about your team making that a game down the stretch against Auburn and the fight they had to claw back in that one?
I mean, there's positives and negatives in every game. That game's a great example. If the last shot goes in at the buzzer and we win, people's perception of that game is probably different. But it's a game of possessions, and in most games, there's somewhere between 170 and 190 possessions, depending on how you play, and each of them are equally important. So in that game, we lost the game in the first half, but we did show a lot of grit and determination coming back in the second half, so there were some positives and negatives. What you hope from a coaching standpoint, and you don't know this until the journey continues, but you hope it's a great learning tool. It's a game that I told the guys, again yesterday, we're never going to forget this whole idea of moving on after a loss. I've never agreed with. I don't think you understand how to win if you move on from a loss. You continue to try to learn from it. And I think when you get into March Madness and things like this, the idea of survive and advance, this is different. But right now, we're always reflecting on past games and trying to improve from our past experiences.
Go to Jeff here in the middle left.
Coach, I think you guys are outscoring your opponents by over 10 points in the second half every single game this year. What are you doing at halftime that's motivating them to get back on the script, or what are you showing them that they're maybe missing in the first half?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that we're doing. I think you got to give the players credit. If nothing else, I think our guys have shown an ability to understand the game's 40 minutes long. We've played some good basketball with big leads, which is difficult to do with younger players. We've played some good basketball when we're down significant amounts, Auburn game being the greatest example. So I think we have shown an ability to be a team that plays each possession and not the scoreboard, which is a positive thing. Specifically, I think the season's real early. It appears there's a trend developing where we play better in the second half, but I think it's too early to make those conclusions yet.
Chris, talking with Keenan, he kind of mentioned that trip to Cancun, maybe not as much cohesiveness built within, just because they're around each other all the time, they live together and whatnot. But I would imagine for you an opportunity like that, going on the road with them, obviously being a first-year coach allows you to create a bonding experience with them. Do you feel like that happened a little bit in Cancun, the opportunity to travel with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. Like, one of the biggest obstacles that you fight trying to win year one, where frankly a lot of people just don't do it, is you're fighting time. And we're competing against teams that have been together 2, 3, 4 years, and we've been together 4 or 5 months. And the whole idea that team chemistry just happens naturally, I don't agree. It's like relationships. So, you're not going to have a good marriage if you just think it's going to happen. You work at it. And it's the same thing with coaching and players and relationships. So that's why calculated things, whether it be a team dinner, a team community service, a team movie, or a trip like Cancun, where we got down there, I think, a day earlier than most teams. All this stuff is calculated to try to develop team chemistry quickly. Why? Because we have an urgency and a desire to try to win year one, and to do that, we know we're fighting time.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go to Sean in the front row.
As the season progresses and you get closer to Big 12 play, the importance of your players in the rotation of the bench coming off becomes more significant. How do players like Naeem, Matthew, and Thomas become important to you to come in and sit, and they've made contributions when they do come in, and how does that affect as closer you get to Big 12 play?
Yeah, I mean, they're important now. It's their roles aren't going to become any more important. They're important right now. We're a team, and I've said this consistently from day one, where depth is our identity. Have a lot of confidence in each player, and certainly each player has to continue to improve throughout the year. That's how you win in basketball. And there's two things. Your team has to get better, and each individual player has to get better. And one or the other can produce a good season, but I didn't come here to be good. I came here to compete. And so you got to have both. And so, you mentioned some great guys there. Matt Temple, has turned the corner the last couple of games. And it's not just about points or rebounds. It's about just him being comfortable on the court, him playing well, him starting to get some confidence. And so that's been good to see. Naeem, I thought, did a great job from the day we signed him up until the day he got sick a couple weeks ago. He'd gained 20 pounds. He was shooting a better percentage in practice. He was embracing individual work, and then we just had a bad break. I don't know what else you call it, He got sick. It looked like it was going to be a routine sickness, and then he got allergic to a medicine he had. So it's just crazy. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball with him. But I thought in the last game against Idaho State, he showed some moments there where he looked comfortable on the court. But, yeah, each player, it's no secret, each player has to get better for our team to succeed.
We'll go to Ben and Andrew, and then we'll wrap it up.
Just how do you think, I don't know exactly what it was, 4 games in however many days, but then obviously, coming back from Mexico and then playing the next day here against Idaho State. What do you think, how do you think your guys handled that situation, just playing and all that, and where do you think down the road we'll start to see the rewards of the dividends of kind of going through situations?
Yeah, good question. It's challenging. Like any coach would tell you, they'd rather have game, practice time, game. It's just not like that in college basketball now. It's like it's the way the rules are set up. We we all play in these multi-team tournaments. So basically you have to play 12 non-conference games, and you only have a certain amount of weeks to play it. And then around final exams, you don't play as many games. So it's just a challenging thing with our sport. It's not a disadvantage to us because everybody's in the same situation. So, but I think, it's an important 2 weeks for us right now. Like I told the guys yesterday, we have an opportunity to practice a couple times this week. And then next week, we finally have the first gap in our practice where we play Saturday to Saturday, I think it is. So this is a pivotal 2-week time for our team to get better in practice every day. When it'll pay off, I mean, that's yet to be determined. But we are trying to do our best to tell our guys, like, we're not defining success now trying to win the next game. We're trying to get our team better. The objective this week is not to beat Incarnate Word. The objective is to get our team better and hopefully win by the product of doing that.
With Norrance being out, just curious, how different your lineups, are looking through these first few weeks. If you feel like that could pay dividends, running guys in there like Matthew Temple, for example, a little bit more often than maybe he would get than with Norrance in there, and how much do you feel like Norrance can soak up from the bench so that when he is able to play, maybe there's not as much of a learning curve with your system?
Yeah, I mean, it's hurt our team not having Norrance. He's a guy that we were really dependent on. It hurts our team in practice. Anthony and Matt kind of bang around with each other, but Norrance was a guy that really elevated their games. I think Anthony Livingston would tell you one of the things that he's really taken advantage of in improving his game since he's been in Lubbock is Norrance. So that's really hurt us. It's no surprise. What you hope though is different guys have different experiences, and then when he gets back, he's ready to play. He is really embracing this rehab. It's a threefold thing when a guy gets hurt, in my opinion. One, you have to embrace the rehab, and I have a lot of confidence in our trainer, Chris, and Norrance is buying into this. Two, you have to stay in condition while you're rehabbing, and this gets very difficult when you have a foot or a knee injury. There's not a lot of things you can do. You can work your arms as much as you can, but that cardiovascular really doesn't come into play. So it's swimming pool, it's heavy ropes, it's arm bike. I mean, it's a lot of things Norrance is doing every single day. And then when we finally get the boot off, now he's got 7 to 10 days to condition on a treadmill and stuff like this. So that's the second part of the rehab process. And the third is you have to stay engaged with the basketball. Everything that we're putting in practice, you've got to stay engaged. And this is very difficult. This takes a very experienced, mature person to sit there every day knowing you're not playing, but stay engaged in a 2.5 hour practice. And Norrance is doing it about as well as I've ever seen it done. He has a notebook that he keeps. He's writing down what we're doing on offense, defense, and he's even staying engaged in our game plan. One of the best examples I've ever seen in a 20-plus year in coaching is, Aaron Ross, even though he was hurt in the Utah State game, he was a real leader. I mean, he was on the bench. He was in tune with the game. He was yelling things out with the game plan. He was really challenging Anthony and Temple and some of these guys. So that's what we hope. We hope that these guys get back as quick as possible. But as a coach, I can't control the medical side of it, but I can control staying engaged in basketball and staying in the top condition. And so I've been proud of Norrance to this point, and Ross is off to a good start too. Ross had the surgery yesterday, and then as of 3 o'clock yesterday, he was already conditioning. So that speaks volumes of the commitment these guys have.